They're beautiful, but this is not exactly what we had in mind. Now, I absolutely love radishes. In fact, one of the reasons why we grow so many of them is one, they're really quick to grow, but two, the taste of homegrown radishes is completely different from those that you would get at the store. And so in April, we came along and we planted well over 200 radishes in this little area. We planted 4 different varieties, and what I've noticed is 2 out of those 4 varieties have bolted. They've gone to seed already, but all is definitely not lost when it comes to the ones that have bolted, and I'm going to show you why. So in today's video, I'm going to harvest some of the radishes that are ready to go, and believe me, they are fantastic looking and tasting. I'm going to go ahead and talk about why ours may have bolted in case you're experiencing the same thing, and I'm going to prove to you that all is not lost, and it's certainly not the end of the world if yours have bolted already. Let's take a close look at these radishes. Now, our experience with radishes is that they are a really easy crop to grow for the most part. I mean, just over a month in the ground, and this is the kind of result we have. And you can see, as we pull these out, that the size of these, well, this particular variety is absolutely outstanding, and they grew really well. We've been harvesting this particular variety for the last 3 weeks or so, and you can see, again, it's a little bit big, but look at how amazing these look. And for whatever reason, this variety did not give us any problem when it came to bolting. And I actually do have some speculation as to why that might be, as to why one variety might do so much better than the other variety or varieties that we have growing here. But again, look at the size of these. These are absolutely fantastic. The greens themselves are in pretty good shape. We do have some beetle issues that have come in here. You can see they've created some holes in these particular radishes, but overall, we're harvesting these up. We're going to be able to store them. You can really preserve them any way you want to. You know, if you eat them within the first week or two, you can actually harvest them, put them in the fridge. We also blanch ours and put them in the freezer downstairs so they can last, well, we've had them last upwards of 6+ months in the freezer. Now, regardless of how well a variety is performing, you'll still see that there will be some variance. I mean, that's just going to happen no matter what it is that you're planting. However, in general, for this variety, I would say we're consistently getting some really nice results. So I'm harvesting just the biggest ones right now for the most part. I don't need to take the other smaller ones out. They'll still develop a little bit further. How about that for a nice little radish harvest? But now I'm going to show you what's happened with some of our other radishes. Now, compared to the tops of our purple plum radishes, these are the tops of some of our daikon radishes. You can see the different color flowers that we have up here. Very beautiful, but that's not exactly what we wanted. When we go down to the base here, and I'll pull up one of these, you can see that our root is not bulbing up at all. This daikon radish is probably one of the longer ones that I've pulled out of here that have bolted, but it hasn't thickened up. And so this root itself, while it's a good, I would say 6 or 7 inches long, it's not going to taste very good. In fact, this should be pretty bitter, I would imagine, and nice and tough. And that's not what we wanted when we planted these. Now, I'm going to speculate as to some of the reasons why these may have bolted the way they did, but before I do that, I want to point something out. There's no reason to just pull these up and throw them away, or even pull these up and compost them right now, unless you have something else that you're ready to plant in here, because these are going to create seed pods if you want to collect the seeds from your radishes. But on top of that, these are absolutely delicious. These flowers are not only edible, they go great in salads, but they're fantastic raw. You can eat every single piece of this plant. So even if we don't get what we want down below in terms of the radish itself, we still have some really delicious tasting. And I would say these are a little bit spicy, definitely a radish flavor, but also kind of like a snap pea flavor as well, just a little bit spicier. And they are phenomenal. Now, the farther you go down on this plant, the tougher it's going to get down here, and that's not going to be so easily edible. But any of these tender shoots that you have here, and again, any of these flowers, go ahead and make yourself a little extra snack with these. You will not regret it. And these are some of the seed pods that grow on these radishes whenever they've bolted. And if we save these particular seeds, they should actually perform better in future gardens in our soil because they have become acclimated to the soil that, well, we have here because they've grown there once before. So this is something we might save. Now, if I open this pot up, you can see the seeds in here. These are fresh. These have not dried out. They've not matured enough. But this is something that, again, we could allow to dry out if we left the plant in the ground. These would mature, and these are the seeds that we would be able to collect in the future. Now, there are a few primary reasons as to why you might have irregular development in your radishes or bolting like we're seeing here as well. For one, if your soil is too compact, then you're probably going to see disfigured radish roots that don't develop the way that you expect them to. It's kind of like when you see carrots or other root vegetables that don't grow into that perfect shape that you expect. If the soil's compact, if there's rocks, etc., then you're going to have some disfigurement that might not create the exact look that you're going for. The other piece of it is if your nitrogen level is too high, then the focus of these radishes would be on the greens up above and less on the root production. So I'm going to show you first what our nitrogen level looks like so we can rule that out, and then we can move into the other primary reason why I think these radishes bolted. For this soil test, we're using the Rapid Test digital soil tester, and we're focused only on the nitrogen level. So that's the purple capsule here. So we're going to use the powder from the purple capsule and some of the water that we've collected. We had our soil water mix and we let it sit until it filtered out. And in about 10 minutes after using the water that we've set up correctly according to the directions and we filled this up appropriately, we should have a good indicator of our nitrogen level. So I'm going to just shake this up as per the directions, and now we have to let it sit for 10 minutes. All right, it's been 10 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and take this and put it into the top of our digital soil meter. And all we're going to do is press N, and it will give us our reading, and our reading is adequate. So we actually have an adequate level of nitrogen in the soil. It's not a surplus, so that's not something we needed to worry about in terms of that causing our problem. So let's get down to why I think 2 out of the 4 varieties of radishes that we planted bolted and the other 2 did just fine. My opinion is that it has more to do with the temperature outside and the length of the day than anything else. Some varieties of radishes you'll find are better to plant in the fall, and some are perfectly fine to plant in the spring. So if they can handle heading into a little bit of that warmer weather and be ready by that time, we're in great shape. But if they need a little bit longer, it might be that they're better to plant in the fall when the weather goes from that warm to the cool temperatures. Remember, radishes are cool weather vegetables. They prefer that nice cool temp with the shorter day length. If we have too much of either of those, well then the possibility of us getting flowers instead of the roots we're looking for increases. So what we're going to do is not make this mistake again. One of the nice things about experimenting with 4 different varieties is now we've seen 2 of the varieties are perfectly fine to plant in April, and we can find other radish varieties that will do the same thing. But for the other 2 varieties, we're going to pick a different time of year. We're going to try it again and see if that was really the main problem. We'd love to hear your opinion on this though. What do you think? Have you had experience with radishes that didn't do exactly what you wanted and bolted instead? Well, don't forget, even if they do bolt, you can save them for seeds later on if you have a little bit of space in your garden. And remember, they're perfectly edible, very, very delicious. Well, we hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. If you did, don't forget to give us a like, leave us a comment, remember to share and subscribe, and most importantly, remember, when you're with us, you are good to grow.